Cameroon, cradle of our fathers, thou wholly shall reign in amidst the Nile repose. The tears and blood, thy soiled waters, on the hills and valleys won their tillage rules. A feast with an extract of Cameroon's national anthem that reminds us as to the virtue and values that we need to uphold as a people of cultural diversity. Today, we are witnessing the opposite of O Cameroon, cradle of our fathers, that we used to sing with the loudest of our voice. Truth has been redefined to mean saying something else which is contrary to the values of the professions, be it a politician or a journalist. Saying becoming a good liar today is what is defined as truth. Patriotism has also been redefined to mean saying something else to protect the interests of the privileged few and instead of the general interest. We've seen it in most circumstances where people prefer to speak the truth in different ways and to speak lies that was favor their sponsors in order to gain political interest or to have a different interest being meted on them. In different contexts and society, we have now come to a terms on which we need to really look into the word patriotism in Cameroon, and there is something that is truly missing in Cameroon. As one artist will put it, Big G Baba, in his song titled Confusion, oh Confusion, there must be a mix-up somewhere. Truly, there is a mix-up somewhere. If you look at the way things are happening in Anglophone crisis and within Cameroon as a whole, how do we explain the fact that fonts and chiefs are being kidnapped like normal, as if they are just ordinary people? How do you explain the fact that Cardinal Tony and other religious authorities are being kidnapped by people who ought to come for confession and seek the face of God? It is truly sad to see this is happening. I agree with Big G Baba that there is a mix-up somewhere. The phone saw kidnapped like a normal person. It has never happened, and such an action should never happen. That is what we call total confusion. When the same people who ought to protect the funds are instead humiliating the fund in an interview that we are seeing across social media, there is truly a confusion. And until Cameroonians come up as a people to denounce this, we will not move forward. There is the serpent, or of course the anaconda that we have been feeding for the past 4 years. Instead of swallowing the enemy, the anaconda is now swallowing us in a way that we are all crying, but the enemy is smiling and laughing and telling us that this is the same people we applauded. There is a total confusion, and there must be a mix-up somewhere. This is House of Commons. We meet Tamai Jarvis. from that transition. If you are just joining us, a happy Sunday to you. Today, we are looking at the first motion as dialogue looms, as we equally have a lot of issues that we are to discuss on today's edition of our program. But first, let me introduce to you my guest with whom we are going to continue our discussion. It's a happy Sunday to all of you watching us out there. I begin by introducing a Pan-Africanist who is there and ensuring that cultural imperialism should not be forced on Africans. The Africans must pick up their identity to protect and prevent others from being desecrating the tradition and custom. Professor Mark, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jarvis, and good morning to all the tele viewers and to my fellow panelists. I want to believe that it's a season where a lot of evil has happened in Cameroon. I'm shocked and surprised when princes are being killed, sacred places are being desecrated, and what should I say? You see things that could never happen before happening without anybody seeing it as a problem. It is really a taboo and a shame to the African youth who are following a path of destruction and sowing evil in their own land. I think it is time for us to rise up and make the difference. It is time for us to stop this rubbish before it's too late.
Thank you very much, Professor Mark. Time for us to stop this rubbish before it is too late. I come to you here in the studio. We equally have the National Communication Secretary of the PAP Party, the People's Action Party of, Fabrice Lena and Jan Dennis. You're welcome to the program, and thanks, Elvis, for joining us on today's edition of our program.
Thank you, Mr. Ta, and good afternoon to all co-panelists on the studio. Good afternoon to all viewers of my Prime Media. I just followed your intro into this program, and I must say you articulated it well, and I think it is really very, very sickening to see what is happening today back in the northwest and the southwest regions, that we have our traditional authorities, we have men of God like His Eminence Cardinal Tumi, who are humiliated by children. Somebody like Cardinal Tumi, a man who is old enough to be even their great-grandfather, and they will embarrass him in public in the name of, I don't know, an arrest or a kidnapping, and they say they pulled him out for an interview or for questioning. I don't know exactly what type of questioning it was, but I want to think that this Anglophone crisis has gone a little too far. And I think it's really necessary. We have come to a time when Cameroonians must all sit up as a people and see into it that something is done to curb all these atrocities, to curb all this embarrassment that we now witness in our regions, without which I'm afraid it may just be helping to cause the whole thing to further escalate into something else.
Thank you very much. Here in the studio we have a peace journalist and someone who's been there to ensure that the reporting as far as conflict is concerned must be done from a developmental perspective, from a balanced, fair, accurate perspective. Mbaku Jod, you're welcome to the program. It's a privilege to have you here.
Thank you very much, Jarvis, and that's why I regret why we can't be able to sit on the panel like this on a beautiful Sunday like this and talk developmental issues, peaceful issues. We can all sit and analyze a railway that has been opened from Kumbo to Kamer, or from the north of the country to the south of the country. Every day we come and sit on this platform. There are no developmental issues to talk about again in Cameroon. We have become we become mourners. Every day we sit here and lament. We try every day. We push through messages that we expect that those who are at the forefront of leadership could pick and salvage the situation. It's really unfortunate that this is where we are. We keep hoping on God. We keep hoping that one day we're going to change our mindsets. We're going to change our perspectives towards one another. Professor Mark was talking about Africans. He's somebody who fights for African unity. And I always quote this, that in after the Second World War, we realized it is standard in Europe. They realized that wars could not help. The best way they could do to sustain humanity was to unite and talk to each other. And that's why they're living in peace. They took a path after that we are not going to invade one another. So Europe is in peace. You will not see Europe. Wars now are basically in Africa, Middle East, and some Asia, part of Asia, people have learned, and for us to stay back to hundreds of years behind thinking about wars, it's really not helping us in any way. So I really want to, in 2016 you say you're Trump, today I don't know why you're Biden. So Trump, I really want to say I adopt my heart to those who have been condemning the gruesome, the atrocities, the gruesome acts and the atrocities in the northwest and the southwest region. We need to start looking at all these crises from another perspective, because, like you said earlier, the anaconda that was small, but that was taken for just a small snake.
Baby snake.
Yes, it has become
giant.
heavier than the shark.
Yeah, and instead of swallowing the enemy, it is swallowing its owners.
I don't understand how I can have a problem with my neighbor and I'm killing all my own children in the house. So there is something, like you said, wrong somewhere.
Yes, there must be a mix up somewhere, as Bijibawa said. Thank you very much, Makujut. I come to you. Joining us in the studio equally, we have Mr. Dimo Emmanuel, who is a civil society activist and someone who believes in that, the fact that Cameroon must be developed by Cameroonians and not by foreigners, and ensure that we must take our individual responsibility as far as nation building is concerned, without apportioning blame to Mr. A, B, and C. He is totally against the syndrome of accused blame and condemn, but believe in collective responsibility. Mr. Ndiwu Emmanuel, it's a privilege to have you here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tamai Javis. As you can see, we are here once more talking about sadness. I quite remember last Sunday in this same studio, I made mention of the fact that if every day we spend together was like the thinking of everybody in Cameroon would have been hell. And I said, if people went out protesting and condemning killings and nothing was done thereafter, then we should be waiting for more mornings, more kidnappings, more ransoms, and many other ugly things. And here we are again today. Like my co-panelist there, Mr. Marco, said, imagine that every Sunday, you passed the whole week, you are coming on Sunday that you are supposed to sit, talk with your friends, and make an evaluation of how further your country has gone. You only come to talk about kidnappings. Before we go to the proper debate, I want to really say that the people of Northwest and Southwest, courage. God is still with you people. If men of God can also become targets, then it means that the common man is the biggest target.
Thank you very much, Mr. Diwo Emmanuel. At least with the introductions, that we move straight to our topic of discussion today. The main first motion for today, we are looking at the kidnap of Northwest Fon of Nkumbu, the killing of the chief of Niwula Malale in Fako Division, Southwest Region, Cameroon, who was killed by alleged gunmen in his palace, and his palace was equally burnt down, and some of his belongings seized by the alleged gunmen. I'll begin with you, Mr. Ivis, from the PAP party. We've been condemning from 2016 when the general peaceful uprising started in the north and southwest region. We've been having peaceful condemnation until now, when we are now in a full-blown armed conflict condemnation. Chief is kidnapped, is killed, a phone is kidnapped. Where are we heading to, and what is the position of PAP as far as the killing of the chief of the Niwula is concerned and the kidnapping of the phone also?
Okay, thank you again, Mr. Tamai Javis. I want to say, as far as the PAP is concerned, we have often condemned every act of kidnapping, every act of murder or massacre. In fact, we have condemned the war as a whole from the very first beginning of it, and we still stand by that position. Then now, when you ask me where we are heading to, I want to say it is literally a very difficult question for the PAP to answer, because we are not in the position to determine the next move from here, because all what we can do as an opposition party is to propose to the government in place, is to talk, pass across our messages to the armed fighters, to give them our own ideas as to what we think we could do, and that is what we have been doing for the past 4 years. But it's rather unfortunate that we find ourselves in a situation where you talk and talk and talk to people, but no one seems to listen. And so when you ask, like I earlier said from the introduction, I still say it is very, very sickening to see that funds and chiefs, people that we know as the grasslanders, that carry the highest, that command the highest respect in our territories, we have come to a point where these very people are kidnapped, like I said before, by children. And I still say, when you take the case of somebody like His Eminence, somebody old enough to be not just a grandfather but a great-grandfather, picked up by his own great-grandchildren, and they say they picked him up for questioning, I say it is really something to decry. Now, coming back into the idea of where are we heading to, I could say again that only this government can tell us exactly where we are heading to. It is true that we condemn the government for what is happening, we condemn the fighters for what is happening, but we always like to emphasize on the fact that this government has the yam and the knife as to what we can actually do, because several ideas have been proposed to this state, be it by the opposition, be it by the civil society organizations, be it by our international partners. Ideas have been proposed from 2016 till date, but like I say, it's rather unfortunate that we have a government with us here that actually does not seem to listen to anyone. We have a government that gives the impression they believe and want to make believe that only they know exactly what should be done, but unfortunately they do not do anything that can actually help cause Cameroonians to get out of this this mess. So I think that if perhaps we had someone on the platform here who represents the state, he perhaps should have been the one to answer that question, to tell us exactly what way forward for as far as this crisis is concerned. All what we of the PAP we see is chaos. Well, that's the only thing we see. We see chaos, and from every indication, we are still far from hoping that things can get better, because at the end of the day, it has turned out to be more of not only a war again, but even a talk within the war. We have a talk of war again between the fighters and the government. Because just today, I was listening to another video from I think Secretary Crise, where he's announcing a general lockdown again in Bamenda, and according to him, it is in response to what government officials also took as a decision. So you understand that the increased terror in our regions is orchestrated by both parties. A says this is what is going to happen, B says no, it must happen, it must not happen that way, it has to go but my own way. And at the end of the day, the common man is the one paying the price in all of this.
If we look at the government perspective here, the Cameroon government says everything is under control. First, there is no war going on in North and Southwest region. They are fighting against terrorist insurgencies within the North and Southwest region, and measures have been put in place to resolve the ongoing crisis, and chiefs are being protected, and of course schools have been protected. But we've had incessant attacks of schools, and chiefs are being kidnapped. Are we saying that there is a mix-up somewhere?
Mr. Tamai Javis, I see you're falling in love with that statement of a mix-up somewhere, and truly there is a mix-up somewhere. The question you've just asked takes me back to saying this. The government, first of all, and that is even one of the reasons why the insecurity is increasing, is that we have a government that has never been honest to itself. We have a government that has never been honest to Cameroonians. Why do I say so? They are the ones that you've rightly said who went. It's true that the PAP we encourage people to send their children to school, but on conditions that the government was going to guarantee security, which they assured Cameroonians that every measure had been taken to ensure the security. But when we see what happened in Kumba, and the Minister of Communication started by lying to Cameroonians that it is because the school was just opened its doors and so was not known to the state and so could not benefit from the security. And then we've seen it happen in other schools in Limbe, in Funo and Oban. And then the question is, was the government serious when it announced to Cameroonians that they had taken security measures, or was it just a way of saying, just send the children, if anything has to happen, it happens that way? Secondly, you ask the protection of the chiefs. Remember that if you take from Sam, the first of Nsor, who was kidnapped, he has been out of his homeland for I think more than a year, 2 years. Now, just on his way back, he did not even get home, and he was kidnapped or arrested, as the people put it. Now the question is, if just the first one who attempted going back home was picked up without getting to his own homeland, Now, where was the security guaranteed these funds and chiefs by? The same government has been insisting that they must go back home. It tells us simply the government in itself is a government that is not serious, and they lack the willpower even to solve this problem.
We're coming back to you. Professor Mark, I want us to look at this from a Pan-Africanist perspective, from your own point of view. When I become Tumbaku, I become from a journalistic perspective. I want to ask you this as a Pan-Africanist. Our chiefs, when we grew up, we were told that they are the custodians. They were, in fact, they are the first president before colonialism, because the chiefs were the direct custodians of the people and determine the people. That's why we had the resistances in Cameroon, like the Baku resistance led by Kuva the Kenyan. We had the Seoul resistance, we had the Bayan resistance, and we had a good number of resistances being led by the Fronts against colonial invasion. But now we are looking at an era where colonialism has come to play and instituted a different structure, and we are seeing how funds are being kidnapped. What is the implication of this as far as the kidnap of funds is concerned from a Pan-Africanist perspective?
You see, when westernization takes over the minds of young Africans, they get to forget the values that the African people have. If you look at what is happening right now, it is just a conclusive pointer to the fact that the African children have lost everything concerning African values. When we used to grow up as kids, when we hear that the fun or the chief is coming, there is a respect that is given. From the northwest region of Cameroon, I don't remember that a chief can be greeted with a hand. You don't greet a chief with your hand, which implies that to even lay your hands on him is desecration. That is proof enough that the so-called Amber boys who are in the first place fighting for a colonial heritage have failed. We might be taking it to be something that is just so light, but I see a complete destruction of the African man. I see a people who have lost their identity. I see a people whom, by virtue of being black, they have become completely Europeanized, though with black skin. I have lack of words because I'm looking at a situation where a chief is not only arrested or might be kidnapped or whatsoever and killed by so-called gunmen, and when you want to ask, they will tell you these gunmen they are not Ambers. It is already too much. We have seen a lot of chiefs killed already in the southwest. A lot of them. If I can count very well, there are more than 10 that have been killed. How comes those who are custodians of the customs of the land can be touched and killed? It means you are indirectly killing the entire culture. To me, I want to be sound in saying that those doing this have failed in their fight. Because when they rose up, they claimed that they wanted to protect the people, and knowing very well that the protection of these people included that same chief that they killed. And if they went ahead to kill the chief, it means they have killed the entire people. Because I want to explain something to you. When they talk of a kingdom, the word kingdom comes from the domain of a king. And the domain of a king is made up of the people. So every individual in a particular kingdom is a property of the king. Which implies that if you are in a chiefdom, every person who is in that chiefdom is the domain of the chief, and so are practically the property of that chief. And if it happens that some persons rise up from within the chiefdom and touch the chief, They have destroyed the entire chiefdom. And that's the destruction of the African culture. You start asking this question, what are they struggling to build then after that? Are they struggling to build a Western nation in Africa? What are they after? We see a people who have gone against every value that makes up the African personality.
But Prof, I want to ask you this. It's a kind of stupid question, but I think I should ask. We're told as kids and as we are growing up, as far as the culture is concerned, that fawns and chiefs possess magical powers. That you could not touch them with your hand and you could not just play with them anyhow as we see things going. And now I want to ask, is it that the gods of those villages have been blinded, or the activities of these fawns have made the gods to shift away from their protection, or something is wrong somewhere?
I'll begin by saying that from the very day our traditional rulers became politicized, we are not saying that they are not supposed to be politicians.
Because chiefs are supposed to be apolitical.
No, that's not true. The chief is a first political entity in his
It means
area.
a chief should belong to a party, a political party, and champion a political party.
Listen to what
But
I
when I
said.
mean by apolitical, I'm saying that a chief is not supposed to have a political
Participate.
Yeah,
and be.
no. Let me ask the question again.
You have asked your question and I want to answer, but you are struggling to ask another
Okay,
question.
yes, finish. I'll ask you this
It
question.
is simple. The fact that he is the chief of a village is above the political party in which he finds himself. He is the very first person of that village. So if he in case joined a political party, he is not supposed to abandon his chiefdom, which implies that he must see his chiefdom being above that political party. The people are supposed to be his focus. But when these chiefs see their political party above their chiefdom, that is where there is a problem. When I say they were politicized, I am talking from the fact that they decided to allow the administration of the nation under a particular regime to buy them over, and buying them over was buying everything about them.
Okay,
and worst of it, they receive this pay. I want to say something before. The chief does not receive payment from anybody because there's nobody who is qualified to pay a chief. The entire people of that particular chiefdom or fondom make sure that they feed their chief, make sure that they supply the needs of their chief. How? The chiefs had farms where the entire village goes to work there to make sure that they have supply. Everybody in the village has something to go to the palace and keep there. Anything you own in the village is part of the chief's domain. As you are a member of that chief's domain, the domain of that chief. So if you own anything, part of it belongs to the palace. So in relation to that, the chief is not supposed to lack anything. But because of the nature of colonial influence, our people have abandoned their chiefs, and so at this particular moment, chiefs now are telling to the government, which is actually led by the colonial master, to depend on the government, and in this case the government influences the decision of the chief and plays
briefly so that we move to other members of the panel.
So as I
Let me
said,
ask this.
okay,
I want to ask you this. You talked about the fact that the chief is supposed to be political. Now, when I talk about a political nature, it means that if you are a CBDM chief or an SDF chief, looking at the political landscape now, you identify yourself to become a member of a political party. And when you have a case with someone of an opposition party, we have seen that in the West region.
I am hearing.
So how do you then produce objectivity as far as you are a senator? How do you produce judgment where you are head of a list in an post-electoral period? I don't want to, because when I talk about political, I understand that
I've heard what
you're not
you
supposed to lead a political party, but you can cast a vote.
lead the political party. But listen to what I'm saying. If your party is above your people, then you are not a leader of those people. That is the error that most of our chiefs have done. They can be in any political party as members of a party, but when it comes to the chiefdom, everybody in that chiefdom, whether they are CPDM or PAP or whatsoever party, are your people, and therefore you are supposed to be objective with them in leading them. But once you lost objectivity, then you have lost your chiefdom as well. And that is where I said they have been politicized.
Okay, and Dimo Emmanuel, I'll continue with you. When we're looking at this context, you are a civil society person. What implication does this have on the, what are the implications of these kidnappings in the light of the villagers themselves? And secondly, are chiefs, I take back the same question back to you, supposed to be political, that is, aligning themselves to a political party and announcing them? How does that now translate to its people and of different diversities?
That's a good question. But I want to start by indicating that the problems of Cameroon are above all political parties. All political parties in Cameroon, there is none that can shoulder the problems of Cameroon. And before I delve into your question, what Professor Mark said a while ago, that chiefs are not supposed to be apolitical. If you go deep into that statement, you will discover that that's actually where the problems of these chiefs are coming from. Yes. You know that in Cameroon today, chiefs are classified. Have you ever asked your question, who has classified these chiefs? The regime. Do you know why they are classified? So that you should fight, you should bring more souls, more Christians to the civilian party. How do you say, I'm not a politician. You bring more Christians to the civilian party, and then they classify you to first-class chief. Do you actually think that most of these funds and chiefs represent their people anymore? No. I want to tell you with proofs that as a civil society activist, I have assisted a meeting in Douala, and I take the risk to say it, Logbeso, where did you, on the eve of legislative election came, we were invited. In a ceremonial ground, the GO actually told the chief that any member of your community who is trying to oppose the legislative election, I give you the power to give me the name, and I will not need a driver to ferry that person to Yaoundé. And you see that all the problems of Cameroon emanates from Yaoundé. Yes. So chiefs in the actual sense are supposed to be apolitical. They own only the political right of franchise, not to execute political activities. But when you see that, like I watched the national station yesterday for about 30 minutes, talking only about chiefs and the regional election, that the CPDM this, the CPDM Upper Camp, invite all the chiefs of Upper Camp to vote massively for the regional election, because it is the last for us to show our love for the head of state. How can you tell me they are apolitical? They are not. Most of these chiefs, it is clear that we condemn what we call in quotes amber or whatsoever. But we actually call on these chiefs to come back to their senses and their consciences. The chief who was kidnapped, that's a very bad act. And it is also a strong message to other chiefs who had abandoned his people. For 2 years, you said it on this platform. That for 2 years he has not been in the village. So he became Peter to Jesus Christ in the Bible. My Lord.
But Bilo said he went for medical treatment.
No. Well, but you know, we are living in a media world. Every update about Kumo, every update about Cameroon and the world at large, we know. When at the time that you are supposed to stand with your people, because when you are a chief, the people are instead your leaders. Because when you want to lead, you must lead the crowd. Now, when you leave the sheep, the flock, to die, and you discover after a certain time that the flock is still alive, you are coming back to lead the same flock, it means there is something wrong somewhere. Permit me just 1 second to tell you that most of these chiefs who leave their villages and go to towns, they don't send back messages to the entire villages. They send back messages to their civilian militants. Yes. And
so are you saying that you have condemned the kidnapping? And you said it is an act that is not supposed to happen?
Never.
And now are you saying...
We call on the consciences of these chiefs who often abandon the people when the people need them the most. And they only come back on the eve of elections because they are coming to participate for regional election. When it is bad, let's call it bad. Let's not beat about the bushes. Yesterday I was discussing with a senior gendarme commander here in Luala who told me clear, frank, when I showed him the topic, that my man, please, us in the uniform, our lives have been saved. He's following this program now. Please, we need peace at all costs. We are tired of the war. The ambassadors are tired of the war, but no party can stop. We have only one person who can tell. I am talking and he's following. We have only one person who can say stop to this war, and he will stop. As much as we condemn violence, we call on the chiefs to stand and die for their people. They should not wait so that the cock should crow the second time and they turn and say, no, I made a mistake. That's what our chiefs have become.
Thank you. Bakujut, we've seen the coverage of the kidnappings and the killings of the deal. We've seen lots of hypotheses. Media seems to be split on this. The killing of the chief of the Wulale Malale, some other media are reporting, especially within the online confine, that it was done by the Cameroon's military, whereas other papers and others reporting are stating that it was done by the non-state armed groups. And equally, the kidnap of Bilo, there are other hypotheses. Some are saying it was not done by the Re-Amba, it was done by the Re-Amba. And you start looking at the coverage, the way journalists cover this. Are they not foiling? Are they not foiling and helping to divide the people than instead giving an objective information from a development and peace perspective?
That takes me back to how the media, the press, journalists have been covering the crisis even from day one. And well, Jervis, just permit me, please, before I get into that, I would just want to correct something about the phone of Nso. He was airlifted to Yaoundé from his palace when the tension was so high on him. He didn't intend to leave that palace, but because of the continuous torture, the kidnap and the killings of his own children, princes of that land, it forced the sons and the daughters of that land to insist that he be taken out of that place. He was actually tortured before leaving Nso. It wasn't.
How do you explain that?
It wasn't his will.
How do you explain that a phone is tortured? Where are the gods?
Okay, well, you asked Professor Mark a similar question. You were asking him where the gods are, because
yes, we have traditional prime minister in that fundum.
Yes.
We have the chief priest in that fundum, and we have the Kwefo in that fundum. We have the Moro in that fundum. Where are they?
This is where the breach is. We had our ancient African tradition, spirituality, the spiritual, our gods we used to worship before Christianity, the real Christianity, the Bible and all that came from the white man, from Europe. We used to have our own ways of incantations. Sometimes you will need to bury 5 virgins to be able to have powers that you can strike a thief in the village. Sometimes you need to kill twins. Sometimes it's albino that you need to kill. These are the barbaric practices that used to take place in our typical African spiritual setup for these palaces to have strength. But when, some of them are still dotted here and there, which is barbaric. But when we embraced, you see today most of our chiefs, our fawns, our kings, they are Christians. They have changed the narrative. They have embraced the new religion. And we think that it is a religion that gives the opportunity for everyone to live in harmony. They don't own those powers again because they don't do those barbaric things. So our cultures, our fondoms, our chiefdoms today act more as our cultural heritage. Our chiefs are more regarded as a souvenir, as our authority. It's not like it's in the magical or in the perspective of some kind of magical powers, but they are there because we believe now today, even they believe that all power comes from God. So they are there today as our leaders, as our institutions, not magical per se. But coming back to how our press, our media has been covering this crisis, and the head-on coalition, I call it head-on because it's so terrible, especially with state-run institutions, state-run media, be it the print or the visual.
And the online.
And the state-run and private, online and even on air. So you realize that the state has an interest to protect. The state normally would protect state institutions. And the fall is coming from the fact, especially when these chiefdoms and kingdoms are concerned, it's coming from the fact that we have a state personality, the number one person of the state, that also is the number one personality of everything that happens in that state. He's the number one personality of all the chiefs, all the chiefdoms in the country. He has been confined upon the power. And that's why when I hear my fellow panelists say a chief is supporting CPDM or whatever, there's no other way they can do this. Because they themselves sat back, gathered their powers, the little authorities, it's about authorities that they have. They gave it to someone who already has all the power in the land. It's like our judiciary that sits back, take all the power and give it to the executive. Our legislative take all power and give it to the executive. Our chiefdoms, our fondoms have taken all their powers and give it to the chief of chief and the fund of funds. He is there, he executes at every point. So he can tell the chief, he can even tell a subsection YCPDM leader that go to that chief and say this. I mean, one man goes there and has the guts to do that.
Is that why the gods are blind? Because we see how some of these chiefs who go into their shrines.
Well,
and they are still being killed like the other chief of the Malale.
They can have one or two. Even the Odeshi we hear the armed separatists are fighting using. You can have one or two, some of these magical powers. We don't know how they function. That's why we still have witch doctors around. And some of them are even in clerical shirts. We don't know where these powers come from. Do you believe that all the power we have in churches, all the churches around here are genuine? Some of them too are from those sources. There are some of those sources of magical powers that still exist in some chiefdoms. But like I said earlier, it should not be a rule that applies to all. It can be, if you grow up and you're in the setup or environment as a chief where you can have access to those things, fine. Some people embrace Christ and decide to abandon all those things. You understand? So I really think that if we were to globalize this thing and look at how it affects, how the press has been reporting and how it affects, how these crises are affecting chiefdoms, the press, the state-run press, protects the interests of the state. The number one institution of the state is the presidency. The presidency has a link with the chiefdoms. And the link is that what the number one man of the state is the number one man of all the chiefdoms and all the fondoms. So what do you expect these institutions to report? I'm a member of the press in Cameroon. You are. I don't want to go into what happens in-house, but we have often caught on, it's not just the state-run media anyway. There are people of the private sector, there are publishers of the private sector, there are broadcasters of the private sector who have also been able to do dirty jobs for the state, and have also been able, others who have been doing dirty job for the opposition, dirty job for the non-state armed groups. Yes, for the state for the non-state armed groups.
these things are glaring. Those are unfortunate instances. But we have often said that doing the wrong thing should never be taken for standard. The chiefdoms, the fondoms are supposed to be apolitical. That is where I stand. Every flag, if, for instance, if this is your fondom and you have the PAP party represented in your community, host a flag of PAP in that fondom. If there is a CPTM represented in that fondom, host a CPTM. Your palace should have somewhere like the AU, where you have all flags that are flying high.
Of the different political parties.
Don't even. You should have a top secret as a chief, as a leader of your community. One of the secrets you should keep is where you stand. Don't openly even tell where you stand, because when you have children in the house, one is a medical doctor, one is a musician, the other one is a tapper. When you openly show the medical doctor that you are too important, know that you trade bias. The one who is a tapper or a bike rider at one point becomes jealous and see that you are giving more preference to those who are already up there. So you should just keep it as a secret within you. My brother here talked about franchise, the right to your vote. Yes, you can go and vote. It's a secret ballot everywhere in the world. You can vote and no one even know where you voted. So, but why don't you leave the community, leave your chiefdom open and embrace all your sons and daughters?
Okay.
That is the best way we can function and we live in our chiefdom without any bias.
Briefly, before I move to Mr. Elvis, I want to ask you this, Baku. When we look at this entire kidnappings of chiefs, what could be the motive as far as this is concerned? When you look at the way the media handles this from an area of dividedness, one set of media is against the state armed groups, the other is against the state, and the common man is left on his own.
Yes, I was talking with some lecturer, some journalism lecturers. The other day they were like indicting us that there is media fatigue. The press is tired, which should obviously not be the case. We've reported until we are tired, and most of what you see now is either propaganda from one end to another for some gains. In as much as we have credible media, we have credible media organs that dish out right, verified, investigated information. We have others that play along to the gallery.
Okay.
But honestly speaking, the press suppose we know our canons, we know what we should be reporting, and journalists are so informed. If a journalist chooses not to tell the truth, it is that journalist responsible, not the media in Cameroon, because we are so informed. We have the tools. We have so many tools to do our investigations. That is why sometimes when people batch at me for indicting a party on something, I laugh at them. They don't have some of the tools we have.
Okay.
They don't have. See, before you go out to publish an article on your online blog, or forget about the WhatsApp talk sometimes, or the Facebook talking that people go about and rant. Before you go to publish for a credible media source, the number of people you must have investigated, cross-check your information, except you're also a lazy journalist, because you must have gotten real facts. And so when you publish, you know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
State armed groups, state military has done theirs. We know them. When we say we know them, we mean we know. Separatist fighters are doing theirs. When they do it, we call them and say they have done this.
Okay.
And they accept.
We're coming back to you, Mbaku. Let's take on a few messages. We'll move to other members of the panel. Good day, Mr. Jarvis. And your panelist is Godi from Bonaberi, Mr. Jarvis. Just like Mr. Jude said, they was kidnapped twice, tortured before we the saw people said it was better for him to live, not to be killed. This other one really says we have to be very objective in our assertions the funds are responsible for what is going on now, because instead of being the custodians of tradition, they have become politicians, which is directly against the same cultural heritage they represent. When this happens, don't expect the people to accord them the same respect, because it is reciprocal. It's coming from an anonymous sender. Please, when you send us your message, please sign your message. Happy Sunday to you, Jarvis, and the co-panelists, especially Professor Mark. I don't know what is happening with our country, but God's finger is warning. It's coming from Madam Esther in Yaoundé. And this other one is a good day, Jarvis. The blame game and condemnation are leading us to nowhere. The government should carry out some degree of concession for peace to return, instead of saying Cameroon is one and indivisible on a daily basis. And this other one reads, it says, good day, my brothers. I have decided to be the next president of Cameroon. I stand for democracy, peace, and development. I need your support to accomplish my state duties. The future is bright. Tayen Donatien from Yaoundé. And this other one reads, it says, taking hostage a chief or fund is a taboo. Worse is letting the chief urinate or defecate outside his palace. The kidnappers should provide the funds. The kidnappers should provide the funds waste. And to Professor Mark Anthony, Africanism means everything in Africa. Your name doesn't represent you as one. Randy Etuke from Banga Bakundu. He is Professor Akumbong Mark Anthony. So it's my fault of calling him Professor Mark Anthony, not his fault of being a Pan-Africanist. I come to you, Elvis. We have two minutes. We have two minutes of this particular part A, so I'll move to part B of the discussion, which is coming subsequently. We've looked at this issue now briefly. When we look at the issue of kidnappings and chiefs and killings of chiefs, are we not, in essence, losing it, chasing the wind? Because these people, they know where the divisional officers' homes are. They know where the governor, where the military bases are. Why do you go for soft target?
When you say are we not losing, and you say we go for soft targets, I don't know.
I say, why are they going? Why are they going for soft targets?
It's better that way when you say they. Before I get to your answer, you asked a pertinent question here, and I will just answer in one sentence by saying that when you desecrate the land by kidnapping or arresting and torturing religious authorities and traditional rulers authorities, then one thing is for sure is the fact that there will be some quid pro quo. You are going to pay the price sooner or later. I'm coming back to the question you asked about the gods of the light, if they are blind or sleeping. No, the gods can never be blind. The gods are not sleeping. The truth is that those who desecrate the land will have to pay the price sooner or later. And we keep saying that the acts, or those such acts, were very, very bad and should never repeat themselves again. But it doesn't cancel the fact, too, like my brother talked about, the right to vote for funds and chiefs. Yes, it is your right. But I'm saying here that when you are a leader and you have been called and placed at such a leadership position, like our traditional rulers, the funds and the chiefs, there is one thing that they must understand. They must learn to stand on the right side of history. There is no way you can abandon your own people for whatsoever reason. And that is what I can say. And I want to think that they, the leaders in this country, our funds and our chiefs who are listening to us on this platform, they understand exactly what we are saying. There are some of them in this country even who are very, very educated. And it rather becomes very baffling to see that people who were brought up as leaders, they are leaders, and some of them even educated, do not still understand where they are supposed to stand. We've seen this crisis, the crisis have been going on for 4 years, but some of them have not been able to speak the truth as far as the crisis is concerned, and I think that's where the real problem lies. Now, when you ask me if they don't, if the other fighters don't know where the houses of the SDOs and urban, well, that's where I say that to some extent, to some degree, I think that they themselves with the Amber Fight have failed too, because the illusions that they sold to the people, they themselves have turned against it, and they are doing something else. They have rather turned, and they are rather torturing more of the same people that they claimed they were out to fight for, that they claimed they were protecting, rather than fighting the persons they elected initially as the enemies of, let me say, of the land. Okay. And I just want to conclude by saying that until be they the amber fighters or the state in question, until the people redefine their goals and know exactly what they are supposed to take as responsibilities, then the truth is that we are down for real trouble. And like I earlier mentioned from the beginning, we are not too sure that this crisis may end too soon.
Good morning, my brother in the house. My name is Maxel from Mundimba. All the chiefs in Cameroon are not doing their work again. As chiefs, they don't have shrine again. They are now using bed laptops now and Android phones to see their children, to seal their children to CPDM. So to me, they should seal Cameroon. They should sell Cameroon to China. This other one it says, good day, sir. Eric Wizzy. Please, I want to say concerning the kidnap that the government are responsible, because there is a way the government are talking sort of international bodies to see that Amber failed. Javis chiefs are not to be political, but the regime have made them. Please don't blame them blame the regime. Remember the chiefs who was warned by the SDU of refusing COVID PT8. Their powers have been limited and they have been made to be dependent. It's coming from Amugu from Boya. Professor Mark, briefly, I have 2 minutes on this topic, so I'll move to part 2 of the program. Professor Mark, I want us to look at briefly, where do we go from here? From this instant kidnapping and killings, like the chief of Lewula Malale, Chief Bandaje Williams was killed, chief of Lewula Malale, Chief Itue was killed.
For a very long period of time, we have claimed and actually always pointed our fingers at the government and claimed that we do not have the power to solve this problem. But as I said, and I'll keep on saying it, that the power that the government wields comes from the people. It doesn't come from space. I know some people claim that all power comes from God. But if it comes,
we had in Kumba.
yes, it comes from God, and then we talk of election. If the people are the ones who have elected a leader and given him power, they have the right to take back that power. And most of the times, taking back this power does not mean going to the ballot box to take it back, because they have deceived us that taking it back means you must go to the ballot box. The people unanimously can rise up and declare that we don't want you anymore, and the person will leave. Or the people can rise up unanimously and demand for a solution to the problem that might have not been handled for a long period of time.
So in essence,
if we are going to see this evil that is happening stop, it is the people of the Northwest and Southwest that endorsed the Amber, gave them power. When we supported their move in September 22, we all went out together. By then we do not have anything called Amber. When some individuals came up and said, okay, they want to protect us, the people say, okay, we'll give people the right. It is in their place to rise up against those same people, because now the people who claim that they wanted to protect them are now killing them.
Okay.
Beginning with chiefs, going to touch men of God. That is the evil that most of them are doing.
Well, you are a man.
And not only going to affect, when I'm talking this,
you are a man of God. We have not seen condemnation from
the condemnation have been done.
Now.
We have done condemnation. You see, this is the error most of you are doing. A communique is not what solves a problem.
But that can be
communiques. How many communiques and how many condemnations have solved the problem that we have right now? We should stop taking things out of direction.
So this condemnation now is going to solve the problem.
If this thing must happen, I'm not talking about condemnation. I'm saying that let the people rise up and take back power from not only the Amber but also from the government, because they are not struggling to solve the problem. It is time for them to make sure that they get up and solve this problem. If they can't, then we have the right to take it.
Professor Mark, thank you. We're coming back to you, but briefly, Mbaku, Emmanuel, where do we go from here? Just very brief, please, because we are almost
from here. I think the chiefs who have sold their consciences to this regime in place. I contradict with Professor Mark when he said the people should rise. If the chiefs are with their people, and the people are with the chiefs, the people now with the chiefs can rise against this regime. Because some of these chiefs
is the people who are arresting chiefs. Are they having the right?
Some of these chiefs are
they having that right?
Some of these chiefs are appointed by the territorial administration and his due.
You speak for Amba people.
You have people like and we should not only limit it to Northwest and Southwest. Cameroon has a problem of legitimacy with all their leaders, be it chiefs or whosoever. Take the case of Chief Fcfa in Yaoundé, who was deposed by somebody who does not share the same opinion with him. Go back to the West, you will see that it's a general problem. So what I'm saying is the way forward, the chiefs, maintain yourself as the custodian of the tradition, bring your people closer to you, and by so doing, the people cannot rally with you people and tell this regime that imposes impostures on their own people subjects that it has to stop, and it will stop.
Okay. Back with you conclusively on this same topic. We'll move to part 2 of where do we go from here, from these incessant killings and kidnappings of traditional authorities.
Quickly, I want to say is the peak of vices that have occurred as far as the crisis is concerned: the bitterness, the hate, the anger, the level of total cruelty that has engulfed the whole crisis, that has pushed people right up to this extent of attacking what they're supposed to be fighting to protect. Remember that the Anglophones, they say they are fighting to protect their integrity, their heritage. That heritage is embedded. That heritage is embedded in their collective well-being. So if you again turn and you are affecting or you are tampering with these institutions that you say you are fighting to protect, then I fear. But I think this is what must be done, like you're asking in 1 minute. Let me just say it. This is what must be done. Like I always say it with education. When they attack educational institutions are also...
We are coming back to that. That's
yes.
the second topic.
This is what must be done. Every community know that you need these policies. You need your legacy. You need your integrity. They are the first things that identify you as a community, as a chiefdom, as a fondom. Make sure as a clan or a tribe, make sure you protect your funds. Make sure you protect your policies. That is where your power comes from. And even if these people, these Amba guys who took funding law for questioning or whatever, if you say you took him for questioning, I think there were better ways to have questioned a fund. These guys took their instructions from their brothers in the diaspora. There's a better way to have questioned from Big Law. Invite him to USA, pay his flight, bring him on the table in Maryland, ask him, Mbe, you are seeing this situation, what do you really think we can do? You people should dialogue. Do you think taking him hostage, torturing Karnatumi will be a leverage for people now to think that you are doing good and must have independence? I think that is where the mistake is. We need to reset our mindset and refocus again, like I'm sure Elvis was talking about the goal of what we are searching for. Okay, so we need to refocus our minds on where we are coming from and what we intend to achieve as a collective Anglophone community.
Okay, thanks very much. This one says nobody can be kidnapped for nothing. It's coming from an anonymous sender.
There are people who have been killed for nothing. The children who died in Kumba, please. The children who were killed in Kumba, they didn't commit a crime.
Back where we are coming. This one says, do you know that do you know what attempted assimilation is? Do you know what the government of the Republic of Cameroon is doing in order to assimilate us? How can you trust a hunting companion who is always aimed at you instead of the game? Let us go back to where Amadou Aidjo left, where we went wrong. And this one is coming from Eddie. Eddie, thanks very much. This one says the reason chiefs are being targeted is because a chief is the one to gather his people and talk to them. But now the government But now the government don't want them to bring solution to this conflict. Please, when you write us, be coherent in your message, so that we can probably.
Do you remember when the governor, was it the governor, asked the chief to go and march?
Yes, it was in the southwest region where
back to these chiefs would have as well
that if they don't march on 20 May, that should be 2018, 20 May, 2019. 20 May, that if they don't march, they will be dethroned, and they will be dethroned.
We castigated that action for marching. Then how do you rate marching and kidnap and torture and killing? So let's be serious, even as an Anglophone people. When we are talking, our chiefs, it's just above boundary. We have overstepped the bounds as far as our culture.
We are coming back to this. We'll take on this break. When we come back, we are going to move to part 2 of this program. And on part 2, we're going to have about 20 minutes to talk about that. And then we will call it a wrap. Stay tuned and don't move an inch. We'll be right back.
Just like you say, because your father has done wrong,
I am who I am because you are who you are and we are who we are. And Albert Einstein said, the world will only be a better place if those who react when they need to react. And the world will only be a better place if those who react when they need to react. It is with that I welcome you on part 2 of today's edition of our program, a second motion for today on House of Commons. Education remains an inalienable right of a child, but we've seen consistent attack of schools despite widespread condemnation from these numerous organizations, both national and international. Yet schools are being kidnapped. On the 24th of October, there was schools have been attacked. 24th of October, there was killing. There were 7 students were killed in Kumba, and we now move to other scenario. After that, there were a series of condemnation, and a school was attacked in Limbe. That is Kulu Memorial Academy was attacked, and the students were undressed, and the properties burnt down by alleged non-state armed group. But yet, people are still being, apportioning blame from Peter, James, and Paul. I come to you to ask these Elvis. We've seen consistent attacks of schools within the north and southwest region of the country, despite the condemnation. I want to ask you this question: where are we heading to?
I don't really think that with the constant or persistent attacks on schools, we are moving anywhere, Mr. Tamai Jarvis. Because like you rightly put it, education is a right that no one can take from a child. And when we decide as a people to persistently attack our own children, deprive them of their education, and at the same time claim that they are the leaders of tomorrow, then I wonder what tomorrow they are going to lead, and I wonder with what capacities and potentials they are going to lead the tomorrow. So I want to say that we are not heading anywhere as far as education is concerned. As far as tomorrow's concerned for this country, if we cannot permit our own children to go to school.
The government of Cameroon, through the Minister of Communication, when the incident in Kumba occurred, Rene Emmanuel Sadi said the said school, St. Francisca, had not notified the government of its activities. That is why the same security accorded to other schools were not accorded to San Francisco. We understand that maybe that had happened. Now, after this incident, 1 week later, almost 1.5 weeks later, Kulu Memorial now was attacked. And does it mean that the school, this now second school attack, did not give the regional delegate of Limbe of secondary education notification that they have resumed their activities? And they were undressed. The students were undressed. Where are we missing things?
I mentioned here already that the minister lied, and I'm insisting on that fact that he lied. And it comes back to the arrogance we get from our state officials in their way of seeing things, in their way of doing things. And these are even some of this is part of the arrogance that contributes in increasing the terror that we see in that part of the country, because schools could not resume. And we know that Mother Francisca has been existing for over 8 or 9 years, for those who are in Kumba who know it. And then someone tells you that the school just opened its doors, and so it was not known to the state, and that is why it could not benefit from security from the state. Now, after that, we've seen Limbe, we've seen Fundong, and before that there have been other places that we've seen Kumbo. So the question now is, will the minister still tell us that all these schools, all of them, were not known to the state? But now, I always like to say that we have gotten to a point where if we needed children to go to school at all cost, then the problem should not even have been whether the schools were authorized or not, because I mentioned somewhere already that even if these children were gathered and kept under a tree to study, it was the government's place to guarantee their security. When they went fanfaring it on TV that parents should send children to school because they were going to guarantee security, did they not know that some schools were not authorized? This Mother Francisca we are talking about is a school that has been taking part in official ceremonies like the 20th of May and 11th of February in the previous years. Did they not know at that time that the school was not authorized? This is just to tell you, Mr. Tama Jarvis, that in reality, when you see the attack on schools, we cannot blame just one camp in this. Both the fighters are concerned and the state is concerned, because at one point in time, we may even be pointing an accusing hand, an accusing finger at the boys, when maybe it doesn't come from them. It could be some higher persons, and we know, for instance, that there are people even within the camps of the separatists who advocated for school resumption, and they precised that people should send their schools to mission schools, and not their children, and not state schools. So it is possible that some higher persons could also have been put in place to orchestrate such things to discredit those who call for school resumption. So there are so many things moving around the attacks in schools, and I want to think that I still say that the responsibility comes back to the state. If they cannot be able to guarantee the security of our children, is a problem. And I also want to think that the AU and the UN are also failing too in this domain, because 4 years today we have not seen them anywhere. Okay. All just permit me that, please. My brother says something. People have been condemning. We of the PAP2, we write our petitions, our press, and we condemn, but we want to say here clean and clear that condemnation on social media or on platforms like this cannot help the situation on the ground until Cameroonians stand up as a people and they take the right action and take the right actions.
Baku Jude, let me come to you before moving to Prof and the others. Let me just change the scenario this time around. Baku Jude, who is against school resumption? Separatists. Because as far as this is concerned, the separatists say they want school resumption. Some group says they want school resumption. Others says I can learn. Others says they don't want school resumption. They don't want school resumption. Now the government says they are providing security. They provided adequate security. Now Fundong was attacked. Students were kidnapped from Fundong. And this was after the Minister of Communication said St. Francisca had not notified competent authorities. I believe that after that incident, many schools would have notified competent authorities, or the government would have taken the regional delegation and divisional delegates would have taken upon themselves to do a censor as to the schools around, and so that they can accord them security. Fundong attack, PC, the students in Kumbu were kidnapped, and their teachers were kidnapped, and we now have Kuru Memorial. And now I ask you, who is now against school resumption? It's just the separatists.
The problem we face now is you are living in illusion. There's no iota of truth in the belligerents. They are tussling and they are thinking that they are playing with fools. We are humans who understand clearly what is happening on the ground. When the separatists say that they have given their endorsement for school, what kind of endorsement did they give for school? They called, in fact, the first school boycott that was caught by the Anglophone consortium, the consortium in Bamenda in 2016, within 16 years, within November, around this time, in 2016, that consortium asked for a strike, a sit-in strike for teachers. Unfortunately, lawyers too, around that time, lawyers had their own issues. So they had to merge so that it should have some weight. Teachers asked for a strike. They didn't ask for such a boycott. But when the things unfolded and became what they are today, separatists asked that there should be no school. Now, these separatists are in different ranks. They are not united. The only two persons who asked that schools resume, let me tell you, this academic year, were Eric Tato and Mark Barretta. These are activists. They don't constitute what the Amazonians themselves say is a government. What we would have expected is a collective union of those different groups, those different separatist groups, to come together from what they say is IG, ADF, those they are different groups which I don't think I can pin because there are many, could come together, agree on a common position. That's why when schools are resuming, we kept asking, what is your position as far as school resumption is concerned? Then let Eric and the other guy and Mark give their personal opinion, which we took and thought that they did not endorse schools to resume. They hadn't. Chris Ano and the other people who have a huge, and Sako and the others who have a huge chunk of this Amazonia thing, they do not.
Okay, Baku, let me ask you now. Yeah, we you've pointed out that they are against school resumption, but the state of Cameroon,
yes,
which people pay taxes to, came out openly and say the situation is under control.
Yeah, they have
adequate security, that students should go to school, parents should not be afraid to send their children to school. Minister Paul Naloa Lyonga in Kumba, after the Kumba incident, said parents should not be deterred to send their children to school at the city council. But after the Kumba visit of Minister Paul Tanganji, we've seen consistent attacks of schools in the northwest region. Is it that the government's security, what's happening with the government security? Are they on break?
That is why I look at Cameroonians and Anglophones again in their eyes on this camera and tell them that we must stop living in illusion. All those stories from government of security, those are stories that you don't take serious. In no way you're supposed to take that seriously. There is no possibility, we should come to reality, Jervis. There is no possibility for government to deploy security forces to every school from kindergarten, primary, secondary, and university in the northwest and the southwest region. There's no possibility. But even if government were to deploy those forces in those schools, is that guarantee for good learning? So what I think is, government is doing its own propaganda, like I said earlier. When it's hearing this Sadi and the other people, these are people who have been at the forefront of causing this whole problem. Atanganji, minister, by excellence, these are the people who have been at the forefront of causing the problem we are in today. So you Anglophones taking them again as you listening to them as if you're listening to, you're just making a fool of your own self.
Thank you.
Because if we are serious and we want security, it is for every community to think out of the box that, okay, my children in this community need education, they need school. After this war, after this crisis, we need medical doctors from this community. We need lawyers from there. We need engineers. We need to build bridges and hospitals. How do we do? You protect your own Amber boys or whatever in your community. You're supposed to give a leeway for children to go to school.
Yeah, time is fast running out now. Let's get to
it's unfortunate when we talk things like this.
Mr. Ndimu Emmanuel, you are a teacher. The government says the schools, other schools have been given security because they've informed or competent authorities that they've resumed their activities. All these other schools, what's happening? That have been attacked. Have they not informed the government that they are resuming their activities?
And may I quickly remind you that Fulham was attacked. My alma mater is a government school, a government high school, dated as far back as 1959. Yes.
So you mean to tell me that government school Fulham too have not notified the government that is resuming?
That is the question I'm asking you now as a journalist. Do you want to tell me that government high school Fulham never notified it? And the government high school Fulham is opposite the SDO. Yes. And the opposite the SDO and in between the gendarmerie post and the police post. It's my place of birth. You see, once more, where we have leaders, like I said last time, who are not really actually at our service, will get this resolved. We have a government which is like, you ask a question to my co-panelists there, who is against school? I say the people against school is the government and the terrorists or the separatists. Let me put it like that. Why do I say the government? The government is playing in this case like somebody who owns a car. The parts of the engine are wearing down. For him to put down the engine, put back the crankshaft, the center of the engine, he keeps painting the skin of the car. And by the end of the day, the car ends up getting knocked at the middle of the road, maybe between Douala and Yaoundé, where left and right there is no mechanic. That's what government is doing here. There is no maximum security. And when the government tells you on the TV that all schools are guaranteed and secure, tell me one minister or one high-level placed administrator in Yaoundé whose child, no, whose family member, let me not talk about child, is schooling in Northwest and Southwest. No. Which means that they are saying, parents, send your children. Even if they go and die, we will come for condolence. When we come for the state burial, there will be commissions that will be formed. Then we will create new accounts. And then the money for this commission will go into the account. See, all these things are window dressing. It only comes back to what I've been saying. The destiny of Anglophones, Northwest, Southwest, and Cameroon in general is in their hands. It is not in the hands of these field leaders. Because what if people have been promising you for so long and they have never fulfilled? What do you think that they will just promise you one evening that you have your security and you have it? And remember, one of the frustration of people in this country is emanating from too much failed promises that push us to the question of legitimacy of our leaders. So the government and the separatists are against school.
Okay, both parties are against school. Professor Mark Akumong, we are looking at this now in a different way because we've seen both parties are claiming that it is Party A that's kidnapping, that's destroying schools. It's Party B, supporters of Party B are saying that no, this is done by the government to put blames on the Amber Boys and the rest. Professor Mark, you've listened to what Emmanuel have said. He said the school in Fundong, which was attacked, is directly opposite the senior divisional officer office, and equally there is a gendarmerie post around that side. I asked myself, then that school located in that area had not notified the SDO that they had resumed their activities?
That might not be the real concern, but I want to say that at times our ministers, in fact most of the times, because the regime in place has always been a regime that has led with, my fellow panelists actually mentioned, with arrogance. Because if we are in a situation in which we find ourselves today, because of the arrogance that most of them have been applying in their tactics of resolving problems. They went to Bamenda for a conflict resolution when the crisis started, the Gogomo committee. It ended up with ministers insulting people. It ended up with a lot of, should I use the word, méprise, like the Frenchman would say, disrespect of people who are actually genuinely posting out their problem. And apart from that, we have people already disgruntled with the long reign of one party, and not just the idea of one party, one person, because if it was just one party with several faces, it would have been different. With one person in reign for a very long period of time, there are a lot of people who are disgruntled. So those things are happening. So but to come back to that point, I want to say this, that the problem might not be the fact that it's not notified, but it is the inability to actually solve problems that we have. The crisis has reached a point where I've discovered that it is not something that we have to keep on doing blames and pointing hands to the government or these people. I've said here that we are the ones who need to solve this problem now, because struggling to depend on the leadership of Mr. Biya is just like throwing water on the deck's back. Depending on the Amber Boys, as the people of the Southwest are expecting, that might be, on the Northwest are expecting, that might be, okay, these people will fight and give us independence, like they claim that they wanted to bring independence. Nothing is going to happen like that. So I think that for Cameroonians, on the people of the Northwest and Southwest, well, let me use the word Southern Cameroonians, to get their freedom, to be able to live in peace, it is time for them to denounce. In fact, we are denouncing both sides. When I use the word denounce, I mean denounce. It means get to them and tell them, we are no more endorsing your evil.
So can we say, I don't know, but if a government tells you that everything is under control, they are providing security, and you are seeing massive security breach, are you saying that, are they failing?
That's failure. It's not a question. It's failure. Everything that they have said, from the very beginning, everything is okay. Things are getting back to normalcy. What is normal in the Northwest and Southwest right now? There is no normalcy. That's to make I have talked so much, attacked this government so much. I don't have that energy to be attacking them anymore. I don't have the energy to be attacking the Amber Boys and condemning them anymore.
Okay.
I am simply saying here that if we are going to come out of this situation, we should not depend on these people, because we have been depending on a government that is actually talking but doing nothing.
Professor,
some of us, we claim that the government has taken concessions and have been able to propose ideas and take. What have they been able to do?
Briefly, so that we are wrapping up. I want to ask you, you are not just a Pan-Africanist.
Yes.
You are a professor, an academist.
Yes.
You see a kid undressed, filmed on the camera, and sent out to the world. How does that resonate? How did we get here?
I have kids. I have a 20-year-old daughter. It will be shocking, and it will be in fact, I don't know how to put it, but when I watched those images, I got so broken inside, because I don't expect that whosoever in his normal senses should come to a school, undress children, males and females, and then of a certain age, that's children between the age of 15 and 20, you send them outside to the public, and you claim that you are fighting for them, for their own future.
Okay.
That is to tell you how the so-called Amazonian fight has failed.
Some will tell you
those who have taken it over now have become, they are more rebels and more terrorists than we used to claim that the Biya regime is a terrorist regime. So we have to be able to call this thing as it is. They have misled the people, and they are misleading the people because they don't have a direction. From what I'm seeing, I'll be sincere to tell you, the Amazonian fight does not have a direction, because with the so many heads, you don't know who is leading who to where.
Directionless direction.
Yes, he does not have direction.
Briefly, we are slowly but surely coming to the end of this program. The PAP, where do you people stand as far as this entire school issue is concerned? As the government keeps singing the songs of adequate security, but yet we see actions and actions and actions. As we heard from Fundong, is a government school. A while ago, you talked about the fact that more of private schools have been targeted, but thank God that Emmanuel said Fundong is a government school located opposite the SDO's office. If PAP was to be in power, was to be the party in power today, what would have been the proposed solution?
Thank you. I didn't say that private schools were the ones being targeted.
No, you said the majority of them.
No, I said the fact that some people advocated for school resumption and insisted that parents should send their children more to the private and mission schools could have been a reason why perhaps some people could be hired to sabotage the system.
Okay. If PAP was to be in power today, briefly, we are out of time. What will be
PAP in power or not in power, or any other person being in power, what we are saying is that as far as education is concerned, children should be given their right to go to school. And for this right to be given for children to go to school, what we are advocating for is the fact that let the state and let the Amber fighters take their full responsibility and know that they do not have to touch the children when it comes to their education. And now, to conclude with the issue of what move to take, what I will simply say here is that, like my brother said, the name Mr. Bia Paul is first of all a name that is irritating to many Cameroonians already. The man has overdue his stay, and I want to think that with Mr. Bia Paul away, any other person, perhaps even from the CPDM, could sit there. But I want to think that Mr. Bia has overstayed his due, almost 4 decades in power, but has not been able to do anything. So I think all what we need now is that Cameroonians, we are no longer talking about the states. Cameroonians, from north to south, west to east, should stand up as a people if they really do feel that what is happening is not okay. They should stand up as a people. They should rise up and let this government understand that enough is enough and that we can no longer accept it. The government is a government that we have spoken to them, we have proposed, you see, but the government, like I earlier said, is a government that does not listen to anybody. It is a government that is not willing to dialogue with any person. It is a government where its leaders are very arrogant. Even when they come out to talk, you hear from their wording that they are more in the interest of provoking the people than wanting to solve problems. So I want to think that this system as a whole is a system that is supposed to give way for some new blood to come in, so that we can see from there how we move on. And for this government to leave, the only thing we can do is to call on Cameroonians to stand up as a people and take them off.
I know I have 5 minutes because I started the program extremely late, not by my fault. I know that. Briefly, just 1 minute for any special message for PAP from this panel as far as it's concerned. You are the communication secretary.
Well, any special message for PAP, I will not say for PAP per se, but I will say to our militants.
Yes,
thank you. I just want to encourage all our militants nationwide, and especially those in the northwest and southwest regions, to tell them that they should hold tight, and it's just a matter of time, and this matter shall be solved.
Mbaku Jut Mbaku, journalist, and I remember some time ago you were the lone person in Cameroon that advocated for school resumption in north and southwest region. I remember you took shots as far as that was concerned, and you were nicknamed Blackleg. You have been giving money, though I don't see you with money. I don't even see you with the largesse, with the cars, and you were really the man of the separatist black book. And we are talking now again, school resumption. The government says, I've promised you, the security, we keep seeing the failures. Bakuju, do you still stand as to where you used to stand before?
It's a continuous process. Let me say this, Jarvis. It's about the mindset. We have a generation of Africans, let me put it that way, and most especially Cameroonians and Anglophones, who have refused to think the other way. Who think that fighting dictatorship is by being dictators themselves. Who think that by not giving room for others to express their views is going to make them have their freedom and independence. It's a very bad, it's a worst form of mental slavery, the worst form of mental derangement which we find ourselves in. And I stand for education. I always stand for education at every point, because education, the next, I told you that after this war, we are going to need the next president. And I don't want to hear a community come tomorrow and say, we do not have an ambassador to this or that. We do not have a doctor or a minister appointed to this, because you bring your opportunities of sending your own children to school. We should not be fighting the war and not thinking the other way around. The children need education. Let's go on.
Okay.
Their education goes on. I've never, if you have ever given me a 25 francs because I've advocated for education, please own up, come to this panel, indicate to Cameroonians that I've chopped your 5 francs because of school advocacy. We do this out of the heart. We do this because Yusufzai Malala is a Pakistani girl of about 17 years, who took the Peace Prize. Peace Prize because she advocated for education. She took a bullet in her head but went to school. No matter how much separatists may want to stop school, we are going to have schools still running, and we are going to have children writing the GCE, and we are going to have the next generation of leaders who will be better than this one. Thank you.
Mbako, thank you. Briefly, where do we go from here for school resumption? We are out of time.
No, I've always been for school resumption. And for those who know me also knows the shot I took because of that, especially from where I come from. When Tony Blair was once asked what he could offer to Africa, he said 3 things. The first, education. Second, education. And the third one, education. And if we were not educated, we would not have been on this panel today. I am saying it from the deepest part of my heart. Schools need to go on.
Okay, thanks very much for all those of you who took our time to send us your SMS, all those of you who took our time to send us your WhatsApp messages. I want to say thanks for coming, thanks for coming, Professor Akumbong Mark. I want to say briefly as we go, your last word.
Anyway, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I want to end by saying that it is time for Cameroonians to rise up. The power is theirs. Let's go down to the streets and demand it. You see, I am not calling for violence. I'm asking that Cameroonians should do what is right. Power belongs to them. We need to demand from the government to solve this problem, as well as we demand from the Amazonians, soldiers and whatsoever, to make sure that they let go of the people, let them free the people from that yoke.
Dear Father, land thy wealth no tongue can tell. How can we ever pay their due? Their welfare will win in time, love and unity. And will be in the name ever true. Will be to thy name ever true. Thanks for watching. It is with that we officially wrap up with today's edition of our program, which comes up every Sunday at exactly 12 p.m. 12 noon. We have a program at exactly 12 noon, and we broadcast on Monday at exactly 1:30, and we broadcast on Sunday at exactly 10:30, while we broadcast on Sunday. And just to let you know that you can view the program on YouTube, BT Media on YouTube. We'll have all of our programs on My Media Prime is on YouTube, BT Media, and you can equally go to Facebook on My Media Prime on Facebook, and BT Media on Facebook too, to get other services at BT Media. My name is Samai Jarvis. I leave you with this: no matter the matter, what matter is your matter, and what should matter for you this Sunday is that let the living water of God flow right into your heart, for you don't know when and how you shall exit the world. May God be with you. Peace be unto your household.